moves slow, time moves fast. In this dance we call the past. Mental health, a fragile thread, but we'll find strength. Let love spread. Life's a climb, just take a step. Rise above, find your breath. In the darkness we will find a shining light to free our mind, to free our mind. Self-growth blooms like petals bloom, shedding tears will heal the wounds and the chaos. Let's find peace, embrace the pain, let it release.
Relax your mind. It's divine time.
We are back, and somebody's chewing something.
I'm not doing anything. I'm trying to open the package.
We was having a great discussion. Let's continue that. What is that? That's nice.
Isn't that nice?
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, I can't get it right. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
We were having a discussion, and Mr. Sigma Uno, you were discussing the drugs and the people were taking those drugs, so children being brought up around those.
Right. So basically, I was saying that during this time frame that drugs had flooded the neighborhoods, you have to remember that drugs are being abused by women, even though they were still pregnant because they were hooked on whatever drug that they were taking. So there's a syndrome that comes with those children because of the drugs or alcohol that were being abused while they were born. So this whole mind alteration thing, when you have these young kids now that are in the neighborhoods and doing what they consider what they consider being a gang member is, they've gone from this point to where they don't think at all. It's not a second thought. It's if I'm coming to kill someone, I'm coming to kill someone. I don't care who's around me. So you have the mind of an assassin in a neighborhood that was supposed to be a neighborhood where people were supposed to be protected and taken care of. When that happens, when we talk about, and this, for me, this is the whole issue of behavioral health. I did a course with a woman called Joy DeGroot, and she was talking about specifically the effects of cortisol. Cortisol, how it puts you in the mode of fight or flight. So you have to imagine, not just with the things that they went through in the belly, the neighborhood that they live in. I remember mentoring this young man. He was a youth at the time, and we did a program with the local community center. And I remember him, and we had a conversation. And as an adult, when we met up again, he told me some things that he experienced as a child that was just completely horrific. That he found a dead body under the neighbor's deck. He was playing with his friends. They found this dead body. They saw someone shoot someone and come into their backyard when they were playing. All this stuff plays in the psyche of this young man. When that's, you know how it is, when that goes untreated, that is a consistent thought. It's always there. It never goes away. So just as he remembered it when he was a child, he remembered it like it just happened yesterday. Now think about this when we talk about gangs and we talk about all this stuff that happened. Are these crimes a necessity? Or is this the way my neighborhood is and I either have to prescribe to it or I can do something different? If you have no other options, then that's where you are, that's where you're raised. This is who you're learning from. As much as our family members didn't want us to learn from the negative side of things, eventually we were encountering it because we were going to school. We were either walking to school from where we were at, or we were getting on the bus. And the kids that we were going to school with, same unruly behavior based on the lack of what they're receiving at home. So it's shameful because now we're looking at the progression of this, or the de-evolution, like I was saying, the de-evolution of this. When we think that they should have a common sense when it comes to protection of their neighborhood, or respect for their grandmother's place, or respect for their parents' house, or respect for elders, period. Because that is another thing that has gone completely out the window. Respect for elders, what does that mean? They're bumping past people coming in out the door. If you can catch a young man or a young lady that open the door for an elderly person, applaud them, because that is not in their DNA right now. It isn't. It just completely goes out the window, and it's all about them and no one else. And we know the things that we teach them are supposed to be a baseline for future generations. If we teach them, they teach their children, they teach their children, they teach their children. I saw, though, a break in all of that when my mother's generation went, and they would begin to push against a lot of what the older generations taught them, based on the civil rights movement and all the rest of those things. They felt like they were laying down for some things that they didn't think they should. But every generation has their time to fight against those things. It doesn't mean that they should dismiss the whole teaching that they received, but it means that, hey, we have to have this still, because it's integral to the part of future generations. So the legacy looks like this. So when we all come together, then we don't expect ignorance, because everyone has this thing in their soul that they've been taught to be respectful. Even though somebody outside of that is not doing it, you almost seek to correct them as well, because this is the way you were raised. But a lot's changed, and I saw the difference. And even with the unwillingness of some of the family members that I grew up with, we saw the breakdown. My cousin that was being that grew up based on him being in the belly, and his mom was an addict. So we saw the complete breakdown of that his whole mindset. You talking about ADHD, anything possibly wrong with a kid, he was doing it. He would act ugly outwardly. Nope. And it didn't matter how much he got a spanking. It just made him believe he got the attention that he wanted. So next time he's gonna do something worse. And it made us nervous, because we were taught completely different. We know a whipping wasn't a good thing. So we were like, I'm gonna shy away from this, because it's gonna cause me some trouble. Not him. It was just it was like it put him on 10, because he needed the attention, and he wasn't getting it. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to say about that piece, because it's changed drastically for a reason.
So, mommy dearest, I got a question for you. Were you? Yeah, I said it.
That was the most horrible movie I've ever seen.
I'm telling you.
Oh my God!
Have you seen the movie?
There's a movie for that?
If you see that movie, you
there
will
is a
never
movie
call me
called-
mommy dearest again.
Oh,
That
yeah.
movie. Oh
You
gosh,
should go see
played
the
that
movie.
okay.
You should-
Well,
Yeah.
I should change your name then.
No, you see the movie first, and then we'll see how it goes.
Oh,
You still call me mommy dearest? Oh my God!
what if I come back and I'm like, oh, mom, that's you?
That's what I'm gonna be like. Oh my God!
Okay. Well, I'll go check out that movie at some point.
Okay.
Probably tonight while I'm at work, and then I'll report back to you.
Okay.
I hope it's not bad. Now, I really hope it's
Oh,
not
you're
bad.
gonna love. You're gonna crack up, man.
Okay, all right, cool. I thought it was like she was like a serial killer or something. I'm like, ooh.
She might as well have been.
Oh gosh. Okay. Anyway, what was I say? Oh, did you grow up and see like the effects of drugs in the community, in the neighborhood, and everything like that?
You know, when I
Gulp, gulp,
when I
gulp,
started
gulp,
growing
gulp.
up, I gotta think, because I cover two eras. I cover the era of racism,
AD.
and then so many people talk about the drugs came into the communities because of racism.
Right.
by the time I was graduating high school, mind you, I grew up in the country. Yeah, everybody they were doing what they were doing, but you know, the high schoolers, they were pretty much doing just marijuana. The hardcore drugs where I grew up at, that was about it, was marijuana, alcohol, and
Right,
all that good
right,
stuff.
right.
In the city, yeah, it was in the 80s. It was already there because it was really bad after the Vietnam War. It's when it got
Right,
really bad. The heroin
right.
started coming in, and people were dying from that, getting hooked on it, having the babies that were
Mm-hmm,
heroin addicts and all of that good stuff.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, but so I didn't deal with the drugs per se on that magnitude. Now, when I got in the military, yeah, yeah, it was happening. It was people, a lot of
mm-hmm,
people, active duty was getting killed, dying
mm-hmm,
from drugs, affiliation or usage. And
mm-hmm,
not long after I got in, I came in 80, and I think about 85, they were really hot and heavy on the urinalysis because everybody was doing drugs. But
mm-hmm,
talking about what we talking about, some of everything,
mm-hmm,
but it all goes back to that one thing. We were talking about gangs, the emergence
mm-hmm,
of gangs, and um, they were designed kind of like the police. The police were designed to be peacekeepers. So it
mm-hmm,
sounds like the gangs started out as being peacekeepers.
mm-hmm.
So, and I thought about this last night. How did it get to the point of you supposed to be protecting your neighborhood from foreign and domestic, but it becomes one of them things where you killing your neighborhood, and the foreigner that's trying to kill you're not even, you don't care about that. It's like gangs are fighting the wrong enemy now. Trying to fight the wrong. We killing ourselves. It's true genocide. We killing ourselves, but we're killing ourselves. I mean, but
Yeah,
as
we
soon as a
But
policeman kill our child or whatever, then you know what? We after the police, but we're not after our own for taking our own. What is the problem?
I mean, we are that's the thing. So, for example, I can only speak on what I know, and with it, for example, if let's say we had Tiny from, and the thing that's crazy now is now you have sets, and those sets can be of the same organization, but they won't even operate like the same organization. You can have Crip set fighting Crip sets, Blood set fighting Blood sets, Lad Kings going against Lad Kings, Deuce, all that. And the thing that kills me is I'm like, y'all rocking the same flag, but at the same time, let's say that my cousin, my cousin was affiliated with someone who ended up taking somebody in my set. Now I'm against my cousin because he knows that person. And then it's like, so why didn't you do something? While also at the same time, yeah, I might not get even with who did that, but at least it's an eye for an eye. I'm taking one of yours because you took one of mine. And that's how it's kind of going. So it's like we are killing our own for killing our own.
We're
But the
killing
issue
our,
is why are we still killing our own?
right,
but
When it
exactly.
something
comes also to the police, I'm like, I was under the impression the police was actually formed during slavery to capture the slaves. I thought that's what the police actually
slave
were.
patrol. It was a
Yeah,
slave patrol
police
industry.
actually
Yeah,
came
but
about
it weren't.
for.
They weren't. They're
And
not
how the
like.
police is now, it's almost like they're sanctioned and still doing the same damn thing. Just
But okay, all right.
See, this is the thing, though. You have to look at the whole picture. The whole picture is when we weren't involved in drugs and we weren't killing each other. Remember the Black Panthers and all the
it was
other groups.
community.
They
We were about organizing.
yeah, they had problems with us because we were organizing and taking care of our own.
And
They
that's how
needed us
crack
to be
pandemic came
dependent.
about.
They needed us to be dependent on them. So the minute that the drugs entered and our minds went completely to the left and we started killing each other, they backed off the neighborhoods. They didn't care. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. There was a shooting that happened in Los Angeles. It literally right around the corner from each other. This is when it happened because every other block in LA is almost a gang. When the shooting started, the police were already there on the outskirts. They didn't enter there until all the shots stopped firing. Why? If you're paid to go in there and bring peace, then why are you allowing things to happen? After you heard the first shot, you're supposed to go find out what was happening, right? No, that's not what happens in California and in LA. I'll just say LA because this is where the experience happened. Then the other piece was during the time of them cleaning up whatever murder just happened, they took one of the vehicles from the other set, drove over to the other one, and shot fires, made some more shootings to make it seem like that set did something. So some more of this can be. So the dissension between let's call it genocide, right?
Yep.
What happens with genocide? And genocide, it starts with the whisper in the ear of someone that someone ain't right, and we got to deal with it. And before you know it, it's gotten around to 50 or 60 people, and everybody's saying the same thing. And before you know it, we don't like you because you're taller than us. Now we're going to kill all the people that are shorter than us, taller than us. That's what happened. So they rolled into the neighborhood with the same vehicle that everybody knows this person is in a different gang, and this is what they've done to make sure that the killings don't die down.
That sounds like you're familiar with the Black Lives Matter. When that first came about, it was all peaceful protests and everything. And then I saw videos where they started talking about how now they're going to do these protests and they're seeing like pallets of bricks. And then all of a sudden a brick gets thrown and now it's no longer peaceful, or either out of nowhere there's like a gunshot, and the next thing you know, you end up having cops firing on innocent people. I mean, and it's just like, I feel like a lot of this stuff now is planted, and it just so happens.
Yes.
It feels like it honestly feels like now they're trying to make it to where no matter what melanated individuals do to try and be peaceful, they're always going to do something to make it seem like we are a gang, that we are organized crime.
And that's why I'm saying, if these gangs are so darn smart, why are you fighting yourself? You need to be fighting the enemy, because just like you're saying, it's planted, it's obvious, it's purely clear, it's clear.
Right.
Now,
I need to find that video that you or either Mr. Impossible sent, where it was talking about the Asian cat and talking to the black dude, and the black dude was sitting there talking to this I think it was a Korean mafia guy, and the Korean guy's like, he's like, everybody wants to be like black people. He's like, y'all have so much control over the world. Y'all are such a big influence. He was like, why is it that y'all are so smart, so educated, but y'all cannot come together to accomplish anything? And then that's when the black guy thought, he was like, damn, Koreans have organized crime. Everybody's got organized crime, but black folk, we're constantly organizing against ourselves. We can't even come together as one to one goal. And he was like, we have all this influence. Everybody want to be like us, but we can't even do good ourselves. I was just like, dang, like I wish I had that video up here. I would definitely play that right now.
Because we're playing to a narrative, and that's the thing. It's different if we know each other well enough, which at one point we did know each other well enough to know that this person ain't going to do this. So I'm not counting to that. Somebody lied, right? So we're not questioning what people are saying about us anymore, because we're twice removed from each other, and we cannot sit and have a conversation long enough to find out the disposition of the person that's sitting in front of me.
I'm sorry. My bad for cutting you off, Mommy Dearest. Continue your thoughts if you remember.
I'm so sorry.
I don't. But it was so good, it doesn't matter. But it's like it's clear as day what the problem is. It's isolated racism.
Right.
It's being, I got kind of upset one day when I realized that, being in the military, and we always said that I pay myself because tax dollars pay the military. So I'm like, I'm paying myself to protect some folk that really don't even care about me. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was, I'm paying my taxes so that you can kill me. My own comrades were KKK. Being trained by the military or the police department, the fire department, the EMTs, all of this. You getting all of this training so you can kill me, and I'm paying for it.
Right, and I'm paying for it.
The enemy, and why are we killing that? Oh, yes, we're intelligent. Everybody knows that, but we don't walk like we intelligent. We walk like, I ain't white, I ain't this, and I ain't that. Well, do you really know who you are?
It does, but see, and that doesn't matter. The funny part about it is, and I say this all the time. I say this all the time because when I came to the knowledge of myself, it was like an eye opener. So when I started really understanding what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when Greenville was burned down, Greenwood was burned down, and all the rest of the stuff. what I had to go beyond was the burning of the place,
Right.
and find out what it actually was.
Mhm.
It was a city that covered, I can't remember how many square feet, but it was big enough to have 600 businesses there. It was big enough to have attorney firms. It's big enough to have car mechanics. It was big enough to have people purchasing and selling
It was
things,
it was like
goods.
a Jew town, but black.
There you go.
Institutionalized.
And
Could
there you
fully
go.
fund its own.
There you go. And
Yeah.
so the idea that we were able to do that
Mm-hmm.
and to live among each other without a problem
Mm-hmm.
means that we're capable of that, right?
Yes.
We're still fully capable of that.
Yes.
So I don't understand how do we get back to the place to where we're actually doing that?
That's the $1,000,000
And
question right there. How do we get
and
that?
and the all of what I've researched over the last maybe 6 or 7 years and coming up with this idea, because every time someone threw something at me that was an excuse, I said, no, that's not, I can't buy that, because we've done this before. We supported ourselves before. We've taken care of ourselves, each other before. I lived a part of that when I was born and raised in the 70s into the 80s. We watched it. We watched a neighborhood supporting each other, whether you knew the person or not. The old man across the street that couldn't get out and take out his garbage and wasn't able to get up, somebody brought him some food. Somebody cut his grass. Somebody took out his trash. Somebody knocked on his door to check on him on a daily basis. That's who we were as a people. That is completely, when I tell you, I go back to old neighborhoods when I go to California, and to see that it is not that the houses are far apart. It's that the people are further apart. Now you go up and sit on your porch and you're wondering what the neighbor across the way is doing, and you don't know. And it's to the point to where it's almost a fight to walk over to your neighbor and say, hey, I saw some. It's almost an instant fight to say, I saw somebody walking in your gate the other night. They won't let you get the word in edgewise. It's always a fight, an instant fight. That what are you coming across the street to my house for?
Right.
But you won't hear it.
Right.
And it's just, there's no warmth in it. I remember we moved into the neighborhood we moved in when we were when my mom and dad moved. My mom moved back from Fresno to Oakland. We have people bringing food, cookies. Who's your kids? These are my kids. Y'all can go out and play together. The lights went down the same time. You have to be in the house the same time everybody else had to be in the house. All of this was, and they were looking out for your kids as well as you were looking out for theirs. You see what I'm saying? So all of that was still happening. That to watch that die,
community,
it makes me sick to my stomach, because it's like I watched this community die. I literally did. And it's like, okay, where are the people that are strong enough to stand up? And I talked to one of my older cousins, and she was like, I sat back and I tried to figure it out myself. She said, because a torch was passed and nobody picked it up.
Nope.
It was like it was passed, but it was either set somewhere where nobody came and maintained it and fixed and made sure everybody knew it was there. It was like it was like all hell broke loose, and people were just dying back and forth, left and right. It was horrible.
All this genocide,
exactly,
for no reason. So
I believe that teaching the younger children, even those same values, and you can only influence children at this time. You can only influence children and young people. And enough to where they know where their support comes from. We're not just talking about support monetarily. We're talking about support where people listen, people understand, people know what you need, or people know that Mr. J down the street owns a landscaping business. He's too old to take over it. He's been watching kids in the neighborhood to see who he's going to pinpoint and ask to come in and take over because he can't do it himself. That should be a possibility, right? Because then if they're able to do that, then that creates a work ethic for them, right?
Yeah, right.
Those are all the things that need to happen in order for a community to be revived. And I know there's a lot more than that, but those are some of the things. And it starts with the whole community building piece and trusting each other, and making sure I trust the people in my neighborhood so much that they're not going to allow anything to come in and do anything to it.
Look, people won't even let you get close to them anymore.
I want to
No.
say something after you, Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, they don't. It's like, I like what you said about the houses aren't getting further apart. The people are,
Mhm.
and we
Yeah.
actually moved to a different house so we wouldn't be so close to our neighbor. I didn't want to see in the neighbor's window, but yeah,
Right.
I don't mind talking to the neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
now I'm in this area where we got all this space, and it's like
Right.
periodically people talk to each other. It's not all the time. Hey, how you doing? Nobody
Right.
comes and check to see. We're one of
Mm.
the elderly couples on the street, not the
Right.
oldest.
Right.
But it's not there.
Hey,
It's
baby,
not
how
there.
you doing?
It's not there. And yes,
Right.
it's diverse. It's very diverse. But
Mhm.
I guess everybody leave home. We leave these communities,
Right.
and people are steady coming from here, there, everywhere, and just moving. And that does kill
Right.
a community, especially when
It does.
you don't know anyone. You
Right.
don't, and we don't want to get to know anyone. But
Right.
and
Right.
our influence is what we see on television, what we hear in the
There you go.
music, what we see the dignitaries saying and doing. That is our
Right.
influence. And
Right.
that may not
Right.
be a positive influence.
Right.
It is not
Right.
positive because it's pretty much done killed off a generation.
It
Facts.
has.
So
And
what I
then
was
go
what I
ahead. Go
was
ahead.
gonna say was through things that I have been through in life and what I have noticed in my personal life, which I also see how it relates to the community, is something I wanted to talk to. I was going to do a discussion with Dolly on. People who were raised in love will do anything for others. Those raised in survival will do anything to others. And ultimately, I'm like, that's what it comes down to. Like a situation I was in where these people have never they've had a lot of things happen to them growing up, and they never had anybody defend them. So now when they have somebody defend them, they leave them hanging because they've never really had that. They don't know how to respond to that. And then it's kind
Mhm.
of like how Mr. Sigma Uno just said, when you walk across to come to somebody's house, they're automatically like, yo, why are you here? They're automatically thinking
Jealous.
the worst is about to happen because they've been living in survival for so dang long. They automatically
Mhm.
think you're out to get me, or I'm going to get you before you get me. When you have individuals who try and make that change or try and do those things, they end up getting ostracized and pushed to the side and made it seem like they're the bad person.
Right.
Because this is how it is. This is how I've always known it to be. You're not going to change it, because now when you end up doing something like that, it makes these people uncomfortable because that's not what they're used to. If they're so used to being in that high cortisol, as you said, always on that
Mhm.
fight or flight, when it comes down to them actually being able to relax, they're going to be constantly aware, thinking something's going to happen because they're not
Right.
used to that feeling.
They're
So
not used
Right.
therefore,
to
if
change, and they
anything,
don't want to change.
They
exactly.
don't.
So if
They're
anybody comes
fearful.
trying to provide that change, that's
Mhm.
gonna make them, they're gonna feel like they're imbalanced when they
Mhm.
actually are now becoming balanced.
Yeah.
So they've
Right.
all this time they thought they've been balanced because that's all they really know. But when in all
Mhm.
honesty, they're imbalanced and they're honestly doing more damage to themselves. So for them to
Right.
actually reach a point of peace, they think something is wrong.
Right.
Mhm. You see that in a lot of older people, a lot of elderly people.
Mhm.
At least over, I would say over 55, 60, it starts to kick in or whatever. And I think
You?
it's because they feel like they are losing. What you say?
Nothing.
Uh-huh. Hey, don't make me come over there.
Please, come on. I need someone to watch these kids.
See, don't make me lose my train of thought. But
Mhm.
they feel like they're losing control, and
Mhm.
they become fearful because
Mhm.
at a particular age you start to lose control, then you know that death is always imminent, but you know you
Right.
closer. You're not able to do those things that you used to do, you want to do. And how do
Mhm.
people treat the elderly? We were talking about that
Right.
before. But
Mhm.
if they would just stop and say, you know what, okay, I got that foundation to this. I know
Mhm.
what's good. Now
That's
let me
it.
listen to what he's saying, and bring a
Mhm.
young twist on it. How are
Right.
they
Right.
doing it now? Yeah, but they don't think that way.
They
It's
don't,
just
and it's horrible because then you also have to consider how much gentrification takes part in it as well. So when a neighborhood is gentrified, that means I've watched it to where they push everybody that is not stable, that doesn't own a house, that has not no claim in the neighborhood. They push them all the way out to outskirts cities that they know that are going to be suitable for the same thing that was there initially, which was what they call the ghettos. So they do that. So
they
now
still doing it.
all the places that were there, all the people that were there are disenfranchised now.
Yeah.
They don't see the people that they know anymore. They don't go to the stores that they used to go to anymore. So and they completely feel displaced. So it's that piece as well. But if we could, I mean, see, I remember a gentleman that owned literally, when I say he almost owned a third of the hilltop area within 5 or 6 blocks.
Wow.
Oh, dang.
And he had 3 sons. And we knew all 3 of them. So we're looking at this.
He's my hilltop in Washington State.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay.
this older black gentleman, and I used to have conversations with him. He used to cut his grass. So that's how we knew he had so many properties, because we cut the grass in one property. He watches close enough, then we're gonna let you cut the grass in the other one. Okay, I can see you can handle that responsibility. I got three more houses for you to go cut the grass and an apartment building. So that's how we knew it. As I grew up and got a little bit older, I met his sons, 2 or 3 of his sons. When I tell you they did not have the mind frame that their father had to even maintain those properties, the minute that man died, they could not manage it. They sold ones for less that was actually worth more. It was just horrible to watch. Then the last 2 that they had, which those other properties should have made them enough money to make sure that they could pay literally everything, lost 2 of them to foreclosure because they weren't paying the bills correctly. They didn't have the same ethic as the father had. So that put that place or all of his estates in a position to where they could be bought out by someone that was coming in to gentrify. And it didn't happen that way. So knowing that this next generation doesn't have the wherewithal or the tenacity to sit down and learn something, or to learn somewhat of what the father's business was, would have made a lot of sense, because they would have known where not to allow them to push. And if they were going to push, they're going to pay top dollar. They could have done all of that and still been in a position where they still had a lot of real estate in that area.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
I'm about to loop this around.
Okay.
Oh, my bad. I thought I was muted.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, I was like, yo, what it sounds like right there is, if we roll it back around to how we started off with gangs, I'm like, you have the old heads who are not passing down that uniformity. They're not passing down that knowledge of how things are supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing. So now it's like you have all these. It's almost like the baby boom era, where you have all these kids coming about and nobody really knows exactly how to take care of all of them. So now you have a bunch of them that are just kind of running around doing rampant because there's not enough people to keep charge of them. So therefore, the knowledge is not getting passed down. You have a lot of those who slip through the cracks and just doing whatever the hell they want to do, like how you were talking about your cousin.
Right.
So I mean, when things like that happen, yes, mommy dearest.
No, I was gonna wait for you to finish.
Okay. She said I got next.
mean, you know what? You can pass down, but are you listening?
Right.
And that's the thing, though.
A lot of people do send information down, but a lot of people not grabbing it.
Well, I feel like they're grabbing it. It's just the fact that, because think about it. When you were a child, your mom when your parents said something, you probably didn't listen right away. But after it happened, you're like, oh, snap. That sticks into your head. And then you end up passing it on to somebody else. That's why you hear me say, I'm like, yo, wisdom turns into knowledge once you pass that down. I'm like, so with it, I'll pass on the knowledge to other individuals. They might not use it, but at least it'll be in their head for them to pass to somebody else. And I mean, that's how it oftentimes ends up working, because you might not see it as in like, this is beneficial to you, but you'll see somebody else is going through something. You're like, you know what? Somebody told me about this. And you end up telling that other person. But I'm like, a lot of times people are thinking like, those with the knowledge in this day and age, from what I'm seeing, they're just like, well, they're not going to listen anyway, so why should I say anything?
Oh, I don't have the attitude. I'll tell you, whether you listen or not, you listen.
Oh,
But
right.
it's my responsibility to teach you. It's still my responsibility.
And the other piece of that is, when you get as far as into the understanding of people, you'll know when they're not listening.
Yes.
So in those cases where people, if you go down to an area, like I used to work community, people's community center, when you go down to those neighborhoods in that area, and again, you got the sirens. It don't matter what time of day or night it was happening. You see what I'm saying? Sirens were you heard the sirens, whether it was a police car, whether it's an ambulance, whether it's a fire truck. It's happening all the time. So their minds are wound up. So the idea of getting knowledge into their mind beyond the other stuff that they're suffering, the chances are little to none. You'd have to pull them. You'd have to supply a need first to calm them, and then pull them slowly but surely pull them from their situation in order for them to give you full attention. So it's like in some cases, giving them information is like throwing rocks and watching them hit the ground.
And that's why black folk are always known to, are you coming to the cookout?
There you go. So you got full bellies, they're relaxed, they ain't got to worry about eating tonight.
And take a bowl so you can carry food home.
Yep.
There you go.
Really?
And
I mean, and that's how it always used to be. Like the OGs and everything, they throw a little barbecue. Everybody come together. That was the
But
community.
you know what? I never went to a barbecue with a bowl. I went to have a good time, eat, drink, do whatever the case may be, but I never took a bowl and carried food home.
Yeah, but at the same time, that was probably one of the.
And you're filling up your bowl before everybody ate.
But at the same, I think one of the things was, is even though you didn't go there with the bowl, you still left there having a lot of good conversation, learning something new.
Right. That's the positive
And
side.
that's the
negative side in
it.
there. Why in the heck you taking a bowl to a barbecue?
But again, even if people come in there with the bowl, the only times, I mean, even if, for example, when I used to like do like a little parties and stuff at my place back in Washington, I would have, or as a matter of fact, the people that I had come over, they all usually brought something themselves. So let me take it back to this. When a guy that I knew, when he would throw parties when I was staying with him, people would come empty-handed, or they would come in and they would come in, eat, and leave. But at the same time, it's like, yes. At the same time, there's people who would engage with you. So there's no way you can get in and out without having a conversation. People are going to pick your brain. People are going to see what you're about. People are going to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes when people end up leaving, it's because they're uncomfortable, or either the fact that they realize, I probably shouldn't be here. I got some food, but at the same time, other people learned about you. So even if you didn't learn something, everybody else who was there learned something. So I mean, there's always a positive. It is good because now,
it's always. I always go in with the positive, and you just proved me different.
I'm like,
just proved me different.
Like I said, we all have different viewpoints. I mean, there might be something that you end up seeing or recognizing. But I mean, with that, even if you have those bad mind individuals, what I like to call them, who come in and they're just thinking selfishly. Now, everybody else knows the type of individual you are. So that right there, that kind of puts like something to where everybody else knows, like, okay, this is somebody who's not for the community. This person is not someone that we should be inviting around because they have a higher chance of causing mischief during the time where we're trying to have community.
Mm-hmm.
And
so therefore, now you can learn about your neighborhood based off of the way that people act when they come there. You can find out who is for you, who is not for you. You can find out who are going to be the problem child that you need to keep eyes on. But that comes back down to the community. That's why we say, hey, you're not invited to the cookout. Especially if you come in there with some raisins and a potato salad. Get the fuck out of here. Excuse my language.
and you're right. The whole idea of knowing that. I mean, just like when a kid is hungry, a child is hungry. And when a child is hungry and it's been hungry for a long time, it's not just going to take and eat at that point. It's going to want to take some for later on, so you ain't got nothing to worry about not eating nothing later on.
Well, you hear the A, chew and swallow.
Right. If you grew up with that same mentality, then that's what you're going to do consistently. You mind you, again, this is a accumulated mindset. This is what's been happening for most of the time in their lives. So in their mindset, this is what is built up to be. It ain't wrong to them, but to others around looking on, it is wrong, and there's something wrong with you because it's happening that way. But we address the what's wrong, but we never address it to them. And that's another part of all of this where I've sit and I've watched. I've been invited over to dinner after Sunday function. I'll just put it that way. And when we're having a conversation at the leadership property, and they're not talking about solutions. They're talking about, they're pointing at people, they're pointing at the issues,
Problem.
they're laughing, they're making fun, and they're not even considering helping to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
So that's another part of that piece. So if we have people, if we have a Sunday function place that says this is what we're in the neighborhood to do, and that never happens, then why is the neighborhood dying? The neighborhood is dying because that's supposed to go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Because it's you have you hit it on the point. Everybody's complaining, but no one has a solution. They're waiting for somebody else to solve the problem.
Right.
And they don't want to be a part of the solution.
Right.
If more of us would come together and work as one, I think we've done said this several times. If we would come together, I even had I'm getting ready to write a poem on this. Come stay and grow together. Come stay and grow together.
Yeah, there you go.
Do that. We got, because we are powerful people, but it's like, nobody wants to lead. Everybody wants to follow.
That's it.
And we'll follow.
Too many Indians, not enough chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah. Too many Indians and not enough chiefs. And it's like, what you want me to do? Why you at my house?
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when they do ask for the support, you give them, first of all, you got to be in their zip code. You have to have walked in the door 2 or 3 times or period over within a month or so, or was it a month or 2 months? That's what I've heard as well. And then they have to know what your economical situation is, what it looks like, and all this. And I get that piece because some people do take advantage. But if they walk in the door, if a child walks in the door and they are hungry, I've been raised in a household where you feed that child. You feed the child because the child needs it.
Yeah.
You try to find out what other need that the child has, and you try to help fill it. And I know you're not going to be able to fill all the needs, but you're at the time that that child or him or her is present in your face, you're going to do the best that you can to take care of them. You see what I'm saying? Because you would want that to happen for your children, right?
I think that would make a significant change in the community. I really do. Because it goes right back. We got to start with the kids. You got to start with the kids.
That's
you
it.
have to start with the kids, and these parents need to quit putting these kids up on pedestals. Little Joy ain't the same when you're not around.
Exactly.
That part. That part.
Yeah.
He ain't the same. My son wouldn't hit nobody, lady. I got
he wouldn't.
camera.
I got
was
the
tearing
video.
his dog's tail out.
Your son was curb stopping somebody. Yeah, he wasn't hitting him. He was destroying him. Big difference.
Exactly.
Bro man said, bang, bang.
Oh yeah, I mean, and with that said, it's one of them things where you got to try. I know you got pedophiles in the neighborhood and all this, that, and the other.
Right.
But if you know each other, you know who you can trust.
There you go. Exactly.
You know who you can trust, and don't be telling people don't say nothing to my child. You got a problem with me, or you go fight a kid because we're doing some crazy stuff.
Right, we are. Definitely.
We're doing some crazy stuff. I mean, you're gonna beat up a kid because that kid said something to your child. Well, who's the kid here?
Right.
That part.
And as we grew up, it was a different thing. Unless you bring in a weapon and you're about to shoot somebody, then the adults intervene. Otherwise, for the boys, you get out in that street and you deal with it and shake hands afterwards. That's the way it was for us.
And parents, y'all, you don't get mad at each other.
No.
It's not because I think we forget how we were when we were children.
That is a true fact. That does happen.
Parent, you got to remember how what you enjoyed when you were a kid, and if you can't remember back that far, then go watch some cartoons or something. Maybe that'll help. But that's part of parenting. You got to remember you were a child and how did you.
Right.
And you remember that movie Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Besides the fact that Peter Pan was the bully. How he says he's like you got to stay forever a child. And I'm like, when it comes down to parenting, you have to still remain a child. Like when we're children, we want to grow up so quickly. And I think one of the issues is the fact that we grow up and we forget what it's like to be a child. So now when you have a child, your children are doing things, you're so quick to try and discipline them to try and conform
Make
them
them.
to society.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right. This is
and
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and with that, it's like, yo, you are taking their innocence and taking their childhood away from them, forcing them to grow up quicker.
Right.
So I'm like, with it, you have
Parentifying. It's
to
a lot of
remember.
parentified kids out there.
Yeah, I'm like, you have
Right.
to remember what it's like to be a child and
Yeah.
having that imaginary friend or having that imagination, because that's something
Climate
we
edge.
all that's something we all should have. And that
Yeah.
will
Right.
make it to where you're able to relate to your children a lot better. That's probably why a lot of children feel like they don't get along very well with their parents. They don't have that
Or
relationship
others.
to where they're able to open up and talk about things, and they end up taking that, holding it in, and going and doing stupid things, shooting up a school or other things, you know? It's like
Yeah.
you need to allow
Right.
your children to be children and be a child with your children.
Yeah.
Right.
Nurturing is a powerful thing, and you have to know how to nurture.
Right.
Mm.
You have to know how to
Exactly.
nurture.
That's that combination of the divine feminine and masculine right there. You got
There
to
you
be
go.
able
That's
to do
it.
both.
That's it.
It goes. It is because I mean I actually had fun with my kids. I really did. I remember climbing trees with my kids, and I climbed those trees with them because I climbed trees as a kid.
Right. Right.
The things that I used to do, and then, which is what they say, you can only give what you are,
Yeah.
what you
You
are.
can only. Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave of me to get them to enjoy life, to be outside, stay outside more than watching that television and doing all that
Right.
crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to get
And
grounded outside. They were like, "Go outside,
oh,
mom. I'm gonna read a book. I want to play my game. Go outside. Come back when the street lights come off." Dad, what am I gonna
Exactly.
do
I
out
mean,
there?
but,
And
yeah,
then I'm in the backyard making like armor out of cardboard boxes, looking crazy, but I'm having fun by myself. So what?
Right.
You
And
and
remember
that's
then
that,
when you
Fox?
got bigger, you started beating up my banana trees.
That was when I got into Muay
you have
Thai. I was
banana
thinking this thing,
trees.
okay?
What? Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's
And
how
I
I
tell
got
you,
scars on
they
my
can
shins. And
survive.
hey, I was a fighter, okay?
Yeah, beating them banana. But you were outside. You were
Yeah.
There you go.
outside. That was the most important thing. You were outside. You had friends. Y'all were
That's it.
enjoying, and I let you do what you wanted to do because I really didn't want to know what you were doing. I was scared to death.
I'm not gonna. I'm
I
never
don't want
gonna
to know. I don't
tell.
want to know. But you got you. That's how you raise your children. You do have to be that child, but you
Mhm.
not that best friend. You
Right.
can get,
Right.
you still have those boundaries and that
Yeah.
structure, and there's certain things that I didn't allow my kids to say to me, and that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
as they grow, you grow with them,
There you
and
go.
I
yeah,
still remember that. Remember, I'm your mama, not your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I
and
still
I'm
remember
gonna
telling you
tell
some
you,
things. Be like, boy, don't tell me that. I'm
I
like,
Mm-hmm.
know,
because I mean,
and it was,
honestly, at one point, I felt like you were the only person I really could talk to about some things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I thank you for allowing our relationship to grow like that. Granted, for the longest time, I thought Auntie was my mom, but anyway. So I mean, having that relationship with you, that made it a lot easier to speak to people.
yeah,
But
yeah,
also it made it a lot easier to hate people too, because it's like being able to be that open with you. That's how I end up getting used by a lot of individuals and people taking my truth and my genuine kindness as weakness and trying to use it against me later on. I had to learn the hard way. Don't tell everybody everything. Don't
I
tell
told you
people
that.
certain things. Yeah, but
You can't
again,
handle it.
rolling back to what you said earlier, how y'all were talking about earlier, you can tell people, but that doesn't mean they're going to remember it. They'll remember it after it happens. They're like, you know what, I learned this lesson, but I had to go through it to really understand the consequences behind it. Because a lot of times you'll tell people like how growing up, a lot of ways that a lot of adults, and I can really only speak for like you and Eric, y'all would tell me, don't do this, but there was no reason behind why I shouldn't do that.
I would tell you
So
why not to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Maybe okay,
remember
all right.
that. Like with my kids, I tell them, I'm like, if you do this, and this could happen. And so
Not to that extent,
yeah,
Ira. If you climb up on
I
the
tell
roof, you're
them.
gonna bust your head open.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
tell them because with me, I'm a visual learner. So with
Mhm.
Right.
it, I'm like, I don't know if my kids are a visual learner. Well, I know that they are now, but even growing up, I would tell them like, hey, don't touch the stove because it's gonna hurt. And then with
Mhm.
it, your hand is gonna swell up. You'll get blisters. You're not gonna be able to touch anything for a long time, and now you're not gonna be able to play how you want to play. So
Mm-hmm.
letting them know like this is the consequences of what's gonna happen. So that's why I never really had some of those situations happen
Mhm.
with my children. But I
Right.
mean, growing up, it was don't do this will happen. But it's not really, it
Detailed.
doesn't paint that picture of what
Yeah.
really can happen. So with
That's
that,
good right there. Yeah.
painting that picture, so what the consequence is going to be. Even when I do story time with the kids, I throw those scenarios in there so that way they can use their imagination of what's going to happen. They can come up with other scenarios or how to deal with it. And I'll correct them on if they're dealing with it wrong. What will happen
Mm-hmm.
in this situation? turn it into like kind of a fun game, but at the same time, they're actually going through it. So I mean, that way, once they end up reaching those situations, or though when they end up being in situations that are equivalent to what we have discussed, they know, okay, this or this can happen. I need to do this to avoid this and this. So that way they're thinking ahead of based off of things that can happen. So I mean, that's how I'm trying to raise my kids.
Okay, you know, that's interesting. That gives me a parenting moment of how I assumed and my assumptions was wrong, because I have always been a forward thinker, and I noticed and you were a forward thinker for a very long time. As a kid, you were amazing when you were like 3 years old. You were really amazing. I could tell you something, and it's like, I don't know. I'm praying on that one. I could tell you, and it's like you would think it out. You were a lot like me, and I assumed you thought like me, but not necessarily, maybe not on my level at that time. Whereas with your sister was just totally different. So, you know, you parent all your kids a little bit different, not the same, based on personality.
And
So
you have to go ahead.
and now I realize that, you know what, it's one of those things, kind of like the shovel. I automatically assumed
And what
that
you always
with
tell
me
me?
saying the bare minimum, ass out of you and me.
Exactly how it's spelled. I think the biggest thing is what I've learned is, you know what? Yeah, they're a part of me, but it also took another person to make them. So
Yeah,
with it, I need to think as well, like, okay, well, what is my
it's more
wife?
genes and
How does she
yeah.
think and things like that? Well, at the same time, you have her family who's also in there. So there's things from her mom that are in that child also. So with
Another
it,
good
like,
point.
yeah,
That's
so
another good point. Because if you remember, I was a single parent. So I wasn't thinking about y'all daddy.
yeah, right.
Okay.
I
I
believe it.
wasn't. I was
There's a
focused
whole
on
nother
raising my
DNA.
kids. And
Yeah.
so but what you're saying right now, that's good information for someone that's living in a home that has a normal parental environment, a normal home,
Yes.
a mom and dad in the home. You see that mother every day, and you realize, you know what, these are our children. And whereas with me, this is my child.
Yeah.
That's a good piece of advice right there.
That's
I might
also
remember that.
something to think about too. Think about like all these single parents who have like multiple baby moms and multiple baby dads.
Sure.
I'm
How
like,
many
how
similarities
difficult?
are there?
I heard Toodles say something.
What she say?
What'd you say?
They got an asylum.
What?
They got an asylum.
She said they have an asylum. Call us Legion because we are many.
Oh my god.
I love it.
Oh my goodness,
And
bruh.
when you think about it, you think about it. You got a lot of spirits in that house.
I'm telling you,
There's a lot of spirits in
That-
that
you
house.
got
Good
some
Lord.
stuff that's you can't even figure. I mean, go ahead.
And then go biblical. Okay. So not only do you got multiple baby mamas or multiple baby daddies in a house, if you go biblical, you got the spirit of everybody that they slept with too.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
That is,
You
amen.
can't put-
That is it.
One for all and all for one.
You don't think to pray for it to be released. You don't think about that.
Yeah.
So just because you didn't get pregnant by that person does not mean you don't still have spirits or attributes from that person.
Attachments, yes.
Oh my
Whatever,
god.
yes. And see, I used to tell
Y'all making my
y'all
feet
that,
palms sweat.
I used to tell my kids that.
no.
I told them, you know, you get somebody pregnant, you're gonna marry them.
Yeah.
And if y'all want to venture off into this sex thing, well, you know, first of all, you need to learn the parts of the body, because you got that wrong. And how that stuff works.
You always used to tell me, think with your big head, not with your little head.
Not with your little one, because that little one gonna get you in trouble. But
You're
then,
right,
you know,
all
from
the
the
time.
biblical perspective, it's like you done slept with everybody that person done slept with. If they done slept with 5 people, guess what? You done
just
probably
like
got
5
15
people.
going on
You
with you.
six-
What did
Right.
Lil Wayne always used to say? I wish I could mess every girl in the world. Technically, you kind of did.
Yeah,
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 and you know
pretty
what?
much.
And you wonder what's wrong with your relationship. You got too many people in it. It's too many people in it.
That right there brings a whole new meaning to everybody shouldn't be in your relationship.
But see, this is the thing, though. Now, as we're talking about community, and we're talking about these things that have actually happened, then what is the actual dysfunction?
We ain't like we used to be.
We're not like we used to be. The monogamy. When? Where?
Man, let me tell you something. I remember the days leaving the house,
Uh-oh.
in the
Uh-oh.
country, going to
Back
hang
in
out
my
with the
day.
girls. This is before your time. This was probably before I thought about eggs, okay?
Bro.
I remember just going to hang out with the girls, right? Just going
Right.
just to have fun, go get your
Right.
drink on or whatever. How
Right.
about you get halfway down the road? And
Excuse me. Remember, you're my mother, not my best friend.
I'm
I'm joking. Go ahead.
Neutral,
you
right?
you get to where you going and you getting a call from home. Why you at this house? You ain't got no business being there I'm like, how you find out?
Exactly. That was the network right
How
there.
you find out? I mean, what
That
y'all
was the
got
network.
Batman wings and Robin and all this stuff hanging out?
Old school community was way faster.
Yep,
Woo!
that's that
And all we
network.
had was that rotary phone. Come on, it was working.
It started turning the minute that you left the house. That's what it-
She just passed my house.
Exactly.
Nothing this she right there with so and so at that house.
Exactly.
Why not just think of the military? Hey, you got eyes on? Yep. The Eagle has landed.
But that's what they did. They looked out for each other. They knew your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
We don't want people in our
They did.
business anymore.
That was the neighborhood watch right there.
That was the neighborhood
Yeah,
watch.
it
It was
was.
out of a lot of trouble, but man, they couldn't see after the lights went out, right?
Oh,
No,
God.
exactly.
That's the whole reason we had that game, Manhunt.
Exactly.
That's where
Right.
that song comes from too. Freaks come out at night.
Oh my God.
But
That is
no,
an age old too. That ain't new. It's not new. It ain't new.
Pineapples.
I got off on that tangent, but the whole reason that they were trying to protect the virginity was because of you sleeping with this, and this.
Right.
They sleeping with that, and that. You don't know who you're
Mhm.
sleeping with. It might be your brother because you know your uncle was tipping or your
Oh,
granddaddy
my
was tipping.
God.
You don't
Papa
know.
was a Rolling Stone.
And Mama was a Rolling Stone too. Now, trust me, Papa had to be rolling with a woman. So who was that woman? He was somebody's
Hey,
woman.
ride till the wheels fall off, right?
Oh my God.
I know we don't
We go back like 4 flats on a Cadillac. And don't worry, baby girl, I got the pump. I'll get you right.
Oh, God.
This is all in fun, but it's
Oh
facts.
my
It's
God.
just funny.
Yeah,
Facts.
it's the truth of the matter because
Yeah.
the community has changed drastically because of all the things that we thought were okay to do. And again, I mean, it's not that we can't have fun, but
Right.
it has to be safe for somebody. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't, that's the reason why our parents told us to go to sleep at a certain time so they can do what they wanted to do after that time, after everybody went to sleep.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that we didn't sneak up to try to find out what was going on, but at the same time, we knew we wouldn't.
Bruh. Hey, anytime you point a finger, remember there's always 3 pointing back at you.
Got your eye in the keyhole, and all of a sudden something spraying your eye.
Exactly.
Just take your little tail on back, go to bed.
Right. But it was safe. But then I had family members like my 2 cousins. We felt horribly bad for my 2 cousins that were their mother was she was trying to enjoy her life and she got pregnant early, young. So she would still have that whole party in her.
Yeah.
But they were children and they were got at the brunt end of all of it. And when it was time to find stability, she couldn't give it to him at all. She'd been into multiple facilities where there was one mental health, one detox, and then every time she got out, she would open up her arms and say, "I want my children back," and until the next incident. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it wasn't that kids my age or in my generation wasn't going through that. They were, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. It's really prevalent now.
Yeah.
And if we could stop at one point, we could stop pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And wrap our arms around some of these, then they'll know that they're loved regardless of how they grew up or what happened. And that's the version of what we do with the behavior help with young adults, because they suffer a lot. They go through a lot, especially if they come out of dysfunction.
Yeah, we gotta gain back trust.
Mm-hmm. Right.
People don't trust people anymore.
No, they don't.
And I
That
know,
part.
yeah, people
Yeah.
don't trust, and it's like we all have our what you call it? My trust factors. I'll call them my trust
Right.
factors. My
Hmm.
thing, my I would say that my three things that causes me to really trust a person or not to trust them.
Hmm.
Um, I can't trust somebody that lies, that
Hmm.
cheats, and that
Hmm.
steals.
Yeah. That's it. Because you know it's all going to happen to you.
It's all gonna happen. You gonna lie to me. You gonna have me somewhere looking crazy because
You're
I
going to steal
believed
something from
you.
me.
You
Right.
gonna you gonna steal something if it ain't nothing but my, I hate to say joy, but my happiness because
Right. Right.
yeah, and those
And-
are the
and-
things that you know that this is what you're gonna do. This is what's
Right.
gonna cause me to spiral down. And not
Right.
only, go into my little depression, but I'm not gonna trust other people. And when I
Right.
don't trust other people, then I may be missing out on a blessing.
Right. Right. And that's the hard part.
That's the hard part.
The hard
I
part.
mean,
Yeah.
it's about trust.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we need to trust each other a little more. And
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
how do we, how do we get there? How do we get there? What do we do? Ira was talking
Um,
about Black Lives Matter, and then some junk went down with that. It's like,
Man, Black Lives Matter was completely exposed, and that's the truth of the matter. I mean,
completely.
but if you watch the way it all came together
Hmm.
and watch who was involved with it coming together,
Hmm.
you had you had some of the Wahite folks paying into that, and the reason why is because there was another sidetrack. It
Yeah,
was another thing to
yeah,
blindside you,
yeah,
and the people that actually benefited from it, it was pretty horrible. They were living it up like that.
yeah.
This is our moment, and I'm like, this is
Right,
your
right.
moment. You're doing
We
this on
took
the back of
advantage of people.
right. You're doing
Right.
this
You
on
took
the
it.
back of how many people?
And
My
and
God.
that cost, I'm telling you, that has cost, that will cost future election results.
Hmm.
Who
Yeah.
goes in the office, and what do you trust
Hmm.
about what will you tolerate from what you want in the
Right.
office? Who do you trust to be in the office? Our
Right.
behavior affects things on so many levels, at so many platforms. Like
Mhm.
divorce, it
Right.
affects, it's just not that husband and wife getting divorced. We're actually
It's a child.
divorcing the kids from the
Right.
grandparents on
Right.
both
Right.
sides. We're
Right.
destroying a family, we're destroying a community, we
Right.
may be destroying a church. You
Hmm.
destroying so
Mm.
much when
Right.
you do
Right.
that. And
Right.
it's okay. So I don't know if that's why a lot of people don't like to get married. I don't know, but it's still, if something was to happen, it's the same results. You get the same results.
And
All right.
but that's
I
the
wanna,
yeah.
I wanna, I wanna try and keep this down to about an hour. So I want to go ahead and hit the gratitude and what you learned. Because I mean, hey, we can easily get back to this. I mean, we just having a discussion.
You can't
We just
handle it
chopping,
when
we
me and
just
Walter
chopping
got
it
so
up.
deep on you. You just can't handle it. You got to
Who,
shut
me?
it down.
I no. All right. Well, I mean,
No,
shoot,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
we can keep it going. I can chop this up into 2 episodes. That's fine. I'm like, I don't. I'm trying to be mindful of people's time. I don't know how much time y'all have. How much time y'all got?
Well, yeah.
I keep looking at the clock. I have another class. I have a 4:30, 5:30. About an hour and a half. I have to be on another. I got to be on prayer line. I need
Okay.
prayer.
What
Gotcha.
about
And I
you,
need.
Sigma
I ain't
Uno?
gonna say I need prayer. I need to pray. I need to pray.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got a couple of things I got to do. I have to
Okay.
look
All
over a
right.
couple of
Because
things, but
I was like, we can easily hit like 3 hours. We've done it before, so that's why I'm
yeah,
just
we've
like,
done that before, definitely.
Yeah.
yeah, we get into the conversation, be like, oh snap. So I'm like, I'm trying to be mindful of the time right now.
Okay.
Right, right.
What I want to do is
Appreciate
just go ahead and hit the gratitude and what you learned. So we'll start with you,
it.
mommy dearest.
Wow. I hate being first. What have I learned? I learned a lot. I learned about my parenting skills and how I was thinking, and with what you're
Mhm.
saying, how I can relay that information onto someone else. Because we
Mhm.
got a lot of single parents, and you think different. You're on a
Mhm.
different mindset because it's you that has to provide for these children, and you want the best
Right,
Hmm.
for them. And you don't
right,
want your kids to look like they come from a single parent home. You want them to,
right.
even though I did say you write your name on your shoe. Another topic. But it's
Next time, next time.
I always try to learn something no matter what. I try to learn something, but I forgot to tell y'all
Mhm.
something. But I'll tell y'all next time. Galveston.
Mhm.
Just remember that.
Galveston.
Yeah, Galveston. Yeah, my trip down to Galveston, what I experienced. But yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Walter, you shared some stuff with gangs that I honestly did I know that they started out being good? They probably did because they were like Hell's Angels and all those, right? How it
Yeah,
all
the
started.
Black Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm familiar with the Black Panthers now. I'm up on them, but just your normal Crips and Bloods and stuff, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they all
I
started
knew
the
my
same
Afro.
way.
Go back to my Afro. Yeah,
They
I
all
learned
started
a
the
lot.
same way.
Yeah, because worse than all you're get an understanding, and I
Yeah.
seek to understand
Yeah.
so that I will know how to react.
Right.
Because me
Right.
thinking one thing and it really is something else, I just might make a fool of myself. Say the wrong
Right.
thing and it wasn't what was, you don't know.
You might
Right.
have to go back and watch the episode we did on reacting versus responding.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one was good. You gotta check that one
Mhm.
out. You got to check the YouTube on that one. Reacting versus responding. Write that down. You can be like, ooh. By the way, your daughter has some good points on there. Ooh, oh boy, what I tell you. she closed that episode out. She closed that out. I'll let you watch that. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but oh my goodness.
Really?
Yes. She
Okay.
closed that out. We all were like, dang, drop the mic. Like, Mr. Sigma Uno, your gratitude and what you learned.
Always grateful for the platform, of course. Grateful to be in the presence of forward thinkers. What I've learned, wow, man. I mean, just the understanding that we're not here by ourselves. We're not thinking in the same mode by ourselves. That when we talk about changing the community or wanting things to be the way that they were in a good sense for community and families, that I'm glad to learn that there are others that are believing and thinking the same way. Also, just hearing the stories, just hearing the questions about whether or someone wanting to know why things are the way that they are. I think that's important. That's super important. And when we begin to ask more questions like that, then we're going to require more answers. So it's more solutions to the problem. So I'm grateful to learn that as well, or just the willingness to find the solution. The problem is important. So. Yeah.
So for me, I am grateful for the turn of events and how everything played out today. This was a conversation that I'm glad to have family on. What I learned was the parenting styles, they do change. And I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are, how wise you are, you can always learn from those who are younger than you and those who are older than you. The way that you do things, there's always many different ways to do things. And I am happy that Mommy Dearest was able to tell me, like, you know what, I never thought of it like that. And I mean, just to be able to take things that she taught me and to kind of revamp it and look at it in a different perspective while also understanding why she did the things that she did, but also being able to go about it a different way to get similar results. Because just like how in the military, the people who you are above, not everybody thinks the same, acts the same. You have to learn different ways that motivate them, different ways that will get them to the solution that you're trying to achieve, to accomplish the mission. And with that, I'm grateful for that, at the fact that I felt like my mom kind of like looked at me in a new light. So that made me happy. Then also at the same time,
I did what?
I said, I feel like you kind of looked at me in a new light. That made me happy. But then also at the same time, I'm grateful at the fact of you, Mr. Sigma Uno, coming on and being able to share some of your experience of growing up on the West Coast in the time that you did. Because hearing what you went through and hearing what my mom went through, being from a different place, about the same era, how different it was, and then how I came up and kind of seeing like a mix of the two, it really put a perspective in of what really needs to happen in order to get things back to where it needs to be, that organization. And when it comes down to the community of how every time we end up talking solutions, it comes down to community. And I feel like we got a little bit deeper into what that community consists of. The community it seems like we are leaving out the wisdom. We're leaving out the wisdom. There's not enough people who are seeking that knowledge. There's a lot of people who think that they know everything. And they often say the wise people are the ones that realize they don't know anything. It's the fools who think they know everything. And we have a lot of fools who think they know everything. And therefore now they're going through trying to lead by example with the stupidity that they have. Because I'm like, stupid is not knowing, not wanting to know better. Ignorant is not knowing, but willing to learn. And so I'd rather deal with someone who is ignorant than someone who is stupid, because someone who is stupid is stuck in their ways. And that's where we are leading. Right. That's where we're leaning to right now. There's a lot of people who don't know better and don't want to know better because this is what it is. And this is how it always has been. That's something that aggravated me when I was in the Marine Corps. Like, this is how it always has been. This is how it's going to be. So with that, I feel that when we can have an open mind, when we can have more people with an open mind and are willing to ask those hard questions and actually abide, as you might remember this, govern themselves accordingly, then we can actually start making a change in the community. With that, we also need to incorporate the ones that came before us, because the wisdom that they have will provide that knowledge, which knowledge is power, which therefore will make it to where we can get back to where we need to be and where we were before. And then with learning how to manage these things, like how you stated earlier, that one gentleman who owns like 5 properties up on the hilltop, and he had the piss poor planning on teaching his children how to run those things. If we can pass down the things that we know to make it to where the youth go further than we were, that's the only way we're going to get to where we need to be. We're setting them up to continue our legacy. We need to set them up to further the legacy.
To further it. Yes.
But with that, I'm going to go ahead and start ending this out. This was another episode of I was talking with two beautiful individuals, and I'm proud to call them with that, I hope y'all stay tuned. If you can, go ahead and like and subscribe just for the algorithm, because I'm not on here for likes. I'm not on here to monetize. I'm not on here to try and get known and a whole bunch of followers. I just want to reach those that need to be reached, to pass the wisdom on, to turn it to knowledge for other individuals, because like we said, nothing's going to change if no one's willing to change. I'd rather be around a bunch of people who are ignorant than a bunch of people who are stupid. And with that, I know the people that flock around me, the people I keep around me, we're ignorant. We do some stupid stuff, but at the same time, we are willing to learn from our mistakes. We are willing to be better. And with that, this is an episode of Divine Time. Relax your mind, Divine Time.